It is wrestling. We are back. Yesterday, 2 days ago, we had an interview with one of the hottest stars in all of the wrestling world, MJF. He's not here right now, but he was in town because of this gigantic, huge show at Arthur Ashe in Queens tonight. It's AEW Grand Slam, which there's a Dynamite Grand Slam and a Rampage Grand Slam.
Yes.
And there's full big cards for both of them. And what better person to talk about both of those cards and what's going on in All Elite Wrestling than All Elite Wrestling President Tony Khan.
Thank you, Brandon.
Welcome back, Tony.
It's great to be back.
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It's not been that long, but it feels like it's been a long time because I really enjoy it, and I hope you do too, and that's why, we missed each other.
I enjoyed it so much. The last time was before, not the last pay-per-view, but the pay-per-view before that. Right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I remember being here earlier this year, and
before Double or Nothing, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it's always a pleasure when I get to come see you in the studio. And one of the most special events on the AEW calendar every year is Grand Slam here in New York.
You did it for the first time last year.
Yes.
And when you were actually here about 3 months before that, and you said, "I've got a big venue coming," and I was like, well, "What do you mean?" And you're like, "It's going to be in New York, and you're not going to be able to guess it." And I didn't guess it. I guessed everything in New York but that. And you did a show, and it was gigantic at Arthur Ashe last year. Main event was, I believe, Bryan Danielson against Hangman Adam Page. Is that correct?
Well, no, the opening match was Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson.
Kenny Omega against Bryan Danielson. I'm confusing it with when we went to a big show. But Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson in a great match. And now, a year later, you're doing it for the second time. So this is just a special night on the calendar for AEW.
Absolutely. Grand Slam is really special. For the live fans tonight in New York, if you're around New York, you can still come. I've been saying this is like the Wayne stock of pro wrestling. This is going to be a great festival. It's outdoors. Arthur Ashe Stadium, one of the greatest sporting venues in the world. And you get two great pro wrestling shows in one night. You get the live 2 hours Grand Slam Dynamite, 5 championship matches tonight on TBS on Wednesday Night Dynamite. One of the most stacked, I think the most stacked show we've ever done tonight on TBS, plus the greatest episode of AEW Rampage of all time.
I don't think that's debatable. This card on Rampage Friday night's incredible.
Yep.
Like you've packed it, and it's 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 hours, and then tonight, of course, you've got... it looks like everything's a title match.
Yep, all title matches.
All title matches. You've got the main event, Jon Moxley against Danielson. You mentioned this was like Wayne stock. Aerosmith won't be there, will they?
No, I don't believe so, but there will be musical performances involved in the show, yes.
Okay. Do you need me to talk to the people or anything?
Well, we have some great people lined up, but, if you could show up, it would be great. You could be like the Rip Taylor of this particular Wayne stock. You could throw the confetti. And
I thought I would be the weird naked Indian in the dream that leads everybody there. That's Wayne's World 2. Maybe me and him are the only two in the room that get that. That's fine. Did you like Wayne's World 2 better or Wayne's World 1? They're both good.
I think it's really similar to our conversations about Major League and Major League 2, where it's like the first one is the more serious and maybe the better movie, but the second one, it kind of breaks the fourth wall a little more. It's a little wackier, but honestly, it's more fun or rewatchable in many ways, too. So I love them both, but I think it's kind of a similar. Major League 1 is to Major League 2, as Wayne's World 1 is to Wayne's World 2.
I love the part where they bring in Charlton Heston for the bit part. That's so funny. That's
Gordon
so funny.
Street.
Yes, that's
I once knew a girl who lived on Gordon Street, but that was a long time ago.
Can we not bring in a better actor for this? And then they bring in Charlton Heston. Anyway, that's fun. We went back to 1994 for a second. Let's come back to 2022 tonight. Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon Bryan Danielson. The Blackpool Combat Club explodes, except it probably won't explode. They like to fight. That's been their relationship the whole time. And now they fight for the richest prize in the game. Tell me about this main event.
It's a huge world championship match, and it is actually the final of the Grand Slam Tournament of Champions tonight on TBS. Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. It's a culmination of this amazing tournament to crown a world champion. Great champions from across the sport coming together, and this is the finals, and it just so happens both members of the Blackpool Combat Club and two of the men who have been really some of the dominant wrestlers in AEW this year. Some of the best matches we've seen in AEW involved Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley fighting against each other in a classic, a Revolution for the first time on pay-per-view, and then partnering in some great matches like the Anarchy in the Arena, for example. And
That's
then
right.
Bryan Danielson was out of action. Originally, he was in the lineup for Blood and Guts. We could talk a little bit later about who came in and replaced him in that big match. But then Bryan Danielson, since he came back on July 27th, I think our TV is the strongest it's been. We're on this amazing run of shows, and it really started with his comeback match against Daniel Garcia, and then the rubber match they had on the House of the Dragon Dynamite.
Yeah.
A lot of exciting stuff, and I'm so excited. And then Jon Moxley, the run he had as interim champion, and now having an opportunity to come back and win back the AEW title against his partner, his friend, and the fact that Jon Moxley is really the person who pushed me to bring Bryan Danielson to AEW.
Really?
Yeah, he wanted to have him here, and he wanted to fight him, and then he wanted to be his partner, and now they're going to fight again for the world title tonight on Dynamite on TBS.
Well, let me ask you this, because the world title will be decided tonight. We had a champion a couple of weeks ago, but have you considered not doing media scrums after these big shows?
Well, I think they've been really, to be fair, we've had a lot of positive things, a lot of positive reactions, and it's a great opportunity for the talent to get out and speak. And obviously, there's a lot of positives coming out of them. And for example, tonight on Dynamite, we have the World Tag Team Champions, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, defending the World Tag Team Championships against the Acclaimed. And it was actually at our last pay-per-view at All Out Media Scrum when we had the conversation. I said to Keith and Swerve, that is one of the best matches we've ever had. And the Acclaimed are the winningest tag team ever in AEW. And certainly, if there's anybody that would deserve a rematch, it would be these guys. And here in New York City tonight on Dynamite, I think it's going to be a great match. You have the World Tag Team Champions, the top two free agents to come into AEW this year against homegrown stars.
Now, those two teams stole the show at your last pay-per-view. I think it's unusual for AEW to do a rematch very quickly as you have, because of, especially for a team that didn't win the titles. Like, they're getting a second shot, and it's a rematch, even though they didn't win the first time. Explain the thought process behind that.
Well, they're the all-time leaders in wins, and they just challenged the champions in one of the greatest matches in the history of AEW pay-per-view.
And everybody loves the Acclaimed.
Everybody loves the Acclaimed, and Keith and Swerve are great tag team champions, fighting champions. So that's when I proposed, hey, this sounds like a great match. Keith jumped all over it, basically said, I'll fight anybody right then and there in the scrum. Swerve, a little more skeptical, but he had some of the questions you had. But frankly, the fans have spoken. This is a match they want to see, and it was a great match on pay-per-view at All Out. And I think a lot of times, it might be a long time before you see a rematch, but in this case, the Acclaimed have won more matches than any tag team ever in AEW. Yeah. So who else, in this case, in New York City, I thought they'd be great for it, and certainly the fans here in New York are going to be looking forward to the World Tag Team title match tonight on Dynamite on TBS.
It can't be. I'm not going to ignore the elephant in the room of what happened a couple of weeks ago, but that dominated headlines for a while. And with you in here, I want to talk about AEW going forward. I don't really want to look backwards. I really don't. I'll let the dirt sheets and everybody do that. I really don't. But I think you said that when Bryan Danielson came back, your TV got better. And I think that's true, but you as the owner, when MJF came back, the last couple of Dynamites, boy, he's really injected a lot into that show. And I know he's an asshole. I know he's a prick. I know he's made your life hard. But what went into the decision to bringing him back?
Well, for the fans, that was the reason I thought it would be great.
He hates the fans, don't he?
But the fans want to see MJF, whether they love him, hate him. He has got fans all over the world that want to see MJF wrestle. And whether he loves them or hates them, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant because the fans are interested in seeing the best wrestlers in AEW every Wednesday night on TBS, on Wednesday Night Dynamite, every Friday night on TNT, on Friday Night Rampage. We try to bring the best wrestling. Tonight on Wednesday Night Dynamite Grand Slam, you're going to see a lot of the best stars there, and certainly MJF is going to be in attendance in New York City. He's really looming over the championship picture since he returned it All Out and won the Casino Ladder match, which means he's going to have a shot at the world title anytime he wants. I will sanction that match.
Let me ask you this. I have no idea what I want to ask you. I want to go to this question right here, because there's a lot of big matches on this card. I want to work my way back. Tonight you have a women's title match, interim title match.
Yes.
Your interim champion is Toni Storm.
Yes.
She's going to be defending against Serena Deeb, Athena, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
Yes.
After the summer you had, and injuries caused a lot of things where you had an interim heavyweight champion, you had this, and there were a lot of, you had to move, there were a lot of moving parts, right? Did you consider not doing an interim champion for the women's title when Thunder Rosa went down with injury?
Well, I thought it was very fair given how we'd handled it in the past with interim championships.
Okay.
We've had interim champions for the World Championship and interim TNT champion. And that led to a great match and one of the best matches I thought this year and a great match on AEW Dynamite in Cleveland. Was an awesome match with Sammy Guevara and Cody Rhodes in a ladder match for an undisputed TNT championship. We obviously crowned an undisputed AEW World Champion, and then I think now it makes a lot of sense with the women's title. Thunder Rosa should have every opportunity, heal up, come back, and whoever is the interim women's world champion would welcome Thunder Rosa to wrestle them and crown an undisputed AEW women's world champion.
Danhausen, what's his deal?
What a different character.
That's a weird cat.
Yeah, he's a different guy. He's a weird guy.
Seems likable enough.
Very nice.
Do you pay him a lot of the monies?
The monies, yes, but actually, it's actually gotten more expensive because I pay him some in money, but a large percentage of his deal is allocated to blimp fuel, which has gotten a lot more expensive. And as blimp fuel has gone up, the cost of having Danhausen has gone up, but luckily he's got all these great fans that support him, and I can offset the cost of the blimp fuel with Danhausen merch sales, which are going very well.
When MJF came back, I'm kind of bouncing everywhere, but you know the company.
Yeah.
When MJF came back in Chicago, he played the arena went dark, and he played a voicemail from you detailing exactly why you were making the call to put him in a casino ladder match. You said, I know you don't care about the fans, but I do, and we're going to make this thing right. Then you said, I'll pay you X amount of dollars, and it was bleeped out. How much was that money?
I'm not going to answer that here.
You can answer it. You
well,
tell me.
No, I'm not going to answer it. It is interesting to me, though, that since you do remember the voicemail, you asked me earlier why I brought him back, and I said it was for the fans, so you did clearly.
No,
you got it. You just asked me to confirm
what
I'd already said in the voicemail, which is good, but then the rest was beeped for a reason.
Did you beep it, or did he beep it?
I don't want to get into that.
You want to write it down? Can I? Okay. Can I tell you how much I make every year?
Yeah, we'll go over/under. Over.
Huh? No,
over.
That's a number.
Yeah, I know over.
No, that's what I make. I'm not asking you.
I gathered.
Okay, all right. $80,000 a year.
Yeah, that is what he wrote down.
$80,000. I am in hell.
Dave may cut this.
Co-running a bed and breakfast with Satan. It's an Office quote. You remember that? You watch The Office?
Yeah.
I got Michael Scott on my shirt today.
I saw that.
Yeah, you like it?
I love it. I do. I've seen every episode of The Office, including Threat Level Midnight. I've seen them all. And obviously.
What's your favorite?
Well, my favorite episode would probably be the Michael Scott Paper Company when he comes back into the office to kind of get his revenge, and Charles and David Wallace are standing there, and I love when Michael walks back in with Pam and Ryan, and he says, well.
Yeah.
How the turntables.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that episode's called Broke. It's a good one. It's season 5, episode 14, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it might be. It's season 5 for sure. I think it's later. It's like episode
Season
20.
5 is awesome.
I think all right. Season 2 is great. Season 3 is perfect. Season 4 is very good, but it's truncated because they had a writer's strike. Dinner parties in season 4. That's my favorite. It's when they have a dinner party.
Yeah, dinner party is very awkward. Talk about awkward energy in the TV.
Can you watch Scott's Tots?
Scott's Tots is hard. It's a hard watch.
I can't watch it.
I agree with the sentiment online that it's a very hard watch, Scott's Tots.
Speaking of...
That's over the line. Over the line.
Speaking of wrestling, tonight you'll have the All-Atlantic Championship defended when Pac, that bastard, defends against Orange Cassidy. I like both of those guys. That's going to be a hell of a match.
Yeah. And it's one of the best rivalries in AEW. I think they are each other's biggest rival, and this is the first time that they've gone one-on-one in a championship match ever, and it's going to be free on TV tonight on TBS. When these two get in the ring, people all over the world are interested, and it's going to be really big for AEW tonight to have that match on TBS and to have it for the All-Atlantic Championship. It's a kind of prestigious match we want to have on AEW Grand Slam, which is a show that is literally completely comprised of championship fights. 5 title fights tonight on TBS on Wednesday Night Dynamite.
In backstage, does Orange Cassidy ever just go crazy, just go wild? Does he get emotional? Is he an emotional mess? Does he ever do anything crazy?
No, to be honest, he hasn't. He's pretty laid back in many ways. He's one of the more laid back people, but I do think Pac brings it out of him, and vice versa. Nobody brings it out of Pac like Orange Cassidy, who's at times really pushed Pac to the brink and made him very angry. So I can't wait to watch this match tonight on Dynamite. I've sat here in this very chair with Orange Cassidy right here on this show with you a year ago, and Orange Cassidy, you've seen what he's like. I mean, he brings that same laid-back energy and is really a great presence in the locker room. Also, does not get enough credit for what a highly intelligent pro wrestler he is. He's a really great wrestling mind. Whether people believe it or know it or not, he's really intelligent.
Super athletic as well. All right, I'm going to see if you'll break some news for me right here. I'm just going to see if I can set you up. If you don't want to, don't do it.
Okay.
Tonight you've got Dynamite Grand Slam. You've got the world title match. We will determine a champion. It is Jon Moxley against the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Yes.
Then you have the tag team championships, the Acclaimed, everybody loves the Acclaimed, against Swerve and Our Glory. You have the All-Atlantic Championship, Pac against Orange Cassidy. We just talked about it. You have the Ring of Honor world title. That'll be determined between Claudio Castagnoli and Chris Jericho, correct?
Yep.
I don't say his last name very well. Did you make a face when I said
You don't say Jericho well?
No, you know what I don't say well. Claudio.
Yeah, Claudio Castagnoli.
Okay, I got it then.
You did say it well.
And then
that's why I was confused. I thought you said it great.
You have the women's title match, the interim title match between champion Toni Storm defending against Serena Deeb, Athena, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Which match is leading us off tonight?
I am not going to break that news.
Damn
and we got to watch tonight on Dynamite.
You know that you're going to break it at like 5 o'clock on Twitter. You're going to tweet out.
I don't. When do I tweet?
You do that sometimes.
Very rarely do I say what match
say, this is what's coming out. Am I right?
Every once in a while.
You don't want to do it right
Well, I don't think it makes sense to say right here and there what is opening the show, but it's going to be a championship match. I promise that.
Okay, that's all right. Now you're just being.
I promise. We're going to open the show with a championship match. We're also going to close the show with a championship match.
Yeah.
In between 3 matches, all championship matches. On Dynamite tonight on TBS Grand Slam.
So Max has this chip, right?
Yeah.
This casino chip that entitles him to a title shot whenever he wants and whenever he so chooses. How do you plan to go about legislating that, or it's your company? How's that going to work for you in your position of power? Can he just walk up to you like tonight and say, "I want a title match," or how's that going to work?
I think anytime, any sanctioned event, we can certainly make it happen. And in this day and age, it's a world. It's certainly. With live television, pay-per-view events, all these opportunities, it's exciting to have a contender out there looming and to have this big championship match tonight on Dynamite. Certainly, it's that much more interesting to have 2 of the best wrestlers in the world, Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley, one-on-one for the world championship, and to have a great wrestler like MJF looming in the background as a top contender with the right to challenge for the title anytime. It's a very interesting championship picture right now in AEW.
Are you prepared for a world where MJF, this guy that called you all kind of names, stood in your ring, cussing, doing all this, are you prepared to have that guy as world champion? Because that's a possibility very soon.
I'm prepared to have anybody the fans want to see as a top wrestler in AEW, as a world champion, no matter who it is. If it's somebody the fans want to see wrestle here, that's what matters, because AEW was created for the fans, and that's who we wrestle for every week, and that's why we have these shows.
Now, I was not at Dynamite Grand Slam last year. My schedule in the fall, the football season is pretty rough, but I wasn't able to make that. I made several AEW shows, but not that one. The arena is interesting. It's an open-air tennis facility. It's beautiful. For people who have gone to an AEW show but haven't been to this one, tell me about that atmosphere.
It's probably the most unique new environment in pro wrestling. This is going to be the best wrestling show in New York City all year. Come see it if you're around New York, and if you're not, watch it tonight on TBS, Part 1 live, and then Part 2, Rampage on Friday, 2 hours there. It's going to be awesome. The venue, like you said, it's open air but with a roof, and it's going to be beautiful weather tonight. And we're going to have just a great night of wrestling. And you know how excited and how passionate the Northeast wrestling fans are. New York City is one of the most important markets in all of the world when it comes to pro wrestling and all sports, really. And here, in particular, pro wrestling is really where New Yorkers, I think, are often at their best. And really, when you look at the lineup for this Grand Slam show, matches up and down the card where you know the crowd's going to bring that great energy to the show. If you can make it there live, there's nothing like being a part of it. And honestly, if you can't be there live, watch it on TBS tonight, and you're going to see AEW fans are the best.
Well, I have to take exception to one thing you said there. You said this is going to be the best show in New York this year, and that's fine. You guys are great. You're doing great. I was actually at an independent show in April, and I was in a battle royal. I was in the main event, so I also eliminated a guy. So maybe cool it on saying this is going to be the biggest because I wrestled.
That is good to know. Well, to be honest, if I'd known that you had those kinds of credentials, maybe we would have tried to get you in the mix for Grand Slam.
I text you my credentials every morning, Tony.
Well, you know, I have to look closer. I'll take a closer look, Brandon, at your credentials.
I mean, how many times can I text you my credentials? You block me on Twitter and Instagram and messaging.
Well, I still follow wrestling. You have a great following here at Barstool.
We really do. We do good work. We've talked so much about Dynamite. We haven't talked about Rampage. No, I know where it's written down. You don't have to point it out.
Well, I'm for them. I'm showing.
Okay,
now we're at Rampage.
Yeah, it's right here. There's Rampage right there.
And he wrote 80,000. He really did right.
I did. Let me go through this card very quickly. You've got Action Bronson and Hook teaming up to face 2.0, which is Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, and the other guy.
It's pretty exciting to have Action Bronson debuting as a pro wrestler. Yeah. And by the way, the other guy is Cool Hand Angel Parker.
He sure, I know he is.
I
was just messing with him.
They do a great job.
They do a great job.
They do, seriously.
They're fantastic.
They are two of the most improved wrestlers in the world. What a great year.
That's on me.
Parker and Menard have had. Those guys are really, really great wrestlers, and I'm excited to see, honestly, they have the ability to be great wrestlers, but this year we've seen them transcend it and become also great sports entertainers, and it's taken Menard and Parker to another level being with Jericho, whereas now with the mentorship of his father Taz, we've seen Hook is one of the fastest rising stars in pro wrestling, and he has this great entrance that gets people excited every time Hook goes to the ring. The Chairman's Intent by Action Bronson plays, and it always fires the crowd up. Well, Action Bronson's going to perform the song live at Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Oh, you can break that?
And, yeah.
Okay. Well,
that's official. Action Bronson's going to perform The Chairman's Intent and wrestle. So that's a first to have a wrestler.
He's a big old boy.
But he is a big man, but he's also lost over 100 pounds.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And he looks great. He's worked really hard, and I've watched him get in the ring, and I'm telling you, he's going to do very well. This is going to be really fun to watch. You can see it live at Arthur Ashe if you make it out tonight and watch it Friday night on TNT, on Rampage. Like we said, I think it's going to be the best Rampage we've ever done on Friday night. The best card, for sure, stacked.
Can you tell that I've lost a little weight?
You look great.
I haven't.
You do look great. I didn't say you. I didn't say I could tell you lost weight,
right.
but I said you look great.
You just said I look great. That's right. Does Menard's face have its own agent? Because that thing is something.
He's also a great announcer. He's become a very good commentator.
Yeah, you're right.
He's doing great work on Dark Elevation every week Mondays on YouTube.
We also have a rematch from the tremendous pay-per-view All Out. Ricky Starks, absolute Ricky Starks, against Powerhouse Hobbs. That kind of exploded at All Out. I think people might have expected it might go one way, but Hobbs dominated him and won in 4 minutes, 35 seconds. But now Ricky Starks gets his second opportunity to face his former teammate.
Yes, and Ricky Starks,
well said.
Coming into that match, Ricky Starks was, taking other challenges. He was fighting other wrestlers. He got hit in the face with a watch by QT, who was maybe in cahoots with Hobbs. And Starks had a great match with QT on Rampage, but it was 2 nights before Starks was due to face Hobbs, and maybe Starks took his eye off the prize a little bit, lost his focus. He's definitely got 100% of his attention on Powerhouse Hobbs for Friday Night Rampage on TNT.
Is this card correct? Because there's a lot of matches here. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5.
There's 8 matches, 7. And we often do 4 on Rampage, but this is a double stack. This is a 2-hour Rampage, so we're doing 8, and it's going to be one of the greatest cards. I think it's going to be the best thing we've ever put out on a Friday night.
That's troubling that you said there's 8 matches because I wrote down 7. So let's see if we can find the one that I left out. All right, you got Action Bronson and Hook against 2.0, Starks against Hobbs, Sammy Guevara against Eddie Kingston. Mm-hmm. We have Ray Phoenix against Jungle Boy.
By By
God.
the way, let's go back. Let's go back.
We're gonna go back.
Sammy Guevara versus Eddie Kingston is a big deal.
So that was a huge thing that was going to happen. Then it didn't happen, and all kind of shit was going on. But now they're finally going to get together and settle this thing.
Well, it's going to be a great match. I'm really excited for it. It's great to
You
have.
made me go back just to say that?
Well, I think to be honest, it's something I'm really looking forward to is Sammy Guevara versus Eddie Kingston, and I didn't want to blow past it because
We're not going to.
It's really one of those situations. It's these two just do not like each other. Now this rivalry is spilled over into big matches previously. We've seen the Jericho Appreciation Society, of course. It was Sammy Guevara who came back. It was a big part of the Blood and Guts, and Eddie threw Sammy off the cage as part of the Blood and Guts match. And we've seen Sammy come back for revenge in the Shark Cage against Eddie. And then the tensions have boiled over, frankly, outside of the ring, backstage. These guys hate each other. They want to get in the ring, settle this, and they're going to do it at Arthur Ashe Stadium. You could see it live tonight at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Come in person, see the fight. And we're also going to have it Friday night on Rampage on TNT. It's going to be huge.
Now, it's a 2-hour show. Tell them when it starts, though. So
10 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you.
And we're going to go 2 hours, 10 p.m. Eastern every week. And this week it's a special 2-hour version of Rampage. We like to do the late night Friday night wrestling. It's every Friday is a big fight night. But this week's double stack.
You've got Ray Phoenix against Jungle Boy. And
first time ever.
Is it really?
One-on-one first time ever. They've wrestled in tag match. They've had great tag matches.
Didn't they have the big sequence at the end of a battle royal once?
Yeah.
That was we were at that Revolution 2021 maybe, I believe.
Yeah.
Where they just
Casino Tag Royale.
They were the last two standing, or two of the last ones standing, and they just had a phenomenal mini match in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes, they did. That was a Casino Tag Royale at Revolution 21.
Isn't that a good memory?
Great memory.
Yeah, thank you very much. Jade Cargill, the TBS champion, probably pound for pound the most successful wrestler in your company. She doesn't lose.
She's undefeated.
Correct. And she's been wrestling for a while. In fact, her first match was the Wednesday Night Dynamite before that show. See, I remember that too.
That is very impressive on your part.
Well, I was there, and you gave me free tickets.
Well, I appreciated you coming. That was a great match, and that was Jade's debut. It was also Shaquille O'Neal's AEW debut.
Yep.
Great to have Shaq in AEW, and it was great to have Brandon Walker and Wrestling in the house for Dynamite and Revolution that year, and going to be great to have you at Grand Slam this year.
I kept a list of everybody backstage who was mean to me that night. Would you like to go over the list after the show?
Yeah, when you finish the Rampage card, sure. And you're missing a match, so we'll figure what you're missing.
We've got Buddy Matthews and Brody King against Sting and Darby Allin. So the House of Black against Sting and Darby Allin. A feud that's gone on for a little bit, but 4 excellent professional wrestlers.
Tremendous. And the fans in New York City, it's a very rare treat for Sting to wrestle in New York.
That's true.
He has not had many matches in the city over the years. I can only think of a few. I know WCW came, they ran, I believe it was the Paramount, the theater, at MSG in like the early 90s.
Really?
And then mostly ran, like I believe, the Meadowlands or outside of the city. But
I think they ran the Nassau Coliseum.
Maybe on Nassau Coliseum, yeah. And they've done shows on Long Island, New Jersey, and WCW. But then, for Sting, really had not had a lot of matches in New York City. And Grand Slam last year was a big milestone with Sting and Darby making their tag team debut in New York. And now they're back at Grand Slam, and that's a huge match. And frankly, anytime Sting is in the ring, it is a huge news story. Darby Allin's one of the most important wrestlers in AEW, a pillar of this company, and they're going up against one of the most formidable units. To have Brody King, Buddy Matthews representing the House of Black, 2 great wrestlers on both sides of the ring, 2 great teams.
I would say if I were listing breakout performers in 2022 for AEW, Brody King's probably on that list.
Huge part of it, yes.
He's had an outstanding year.
Absolutely huge.
You've got Samoa Joe and Wardlow. Boy, that's a team of hosses. Against Tony Nese and Josh Woods.
Yeah, very cool, huh? To have of course, the Ring of Honor World Television Champion teaming with AEW's TNT Champion, 2 great TV champions getting together, and it's going to be a great Rampage card Friday night on TNT. You got some big matches here.
I sure do. I got 7 of them, Tony. I sure have 7 of them, and they're great. And if I had producers worth of shit, they would be coming to my rescue right now. They wouldn't be just sitting there as I embarrass myself.
Well, let's see what you got written down here.
You
have Hook and Action Bronson.
I'm going to go to 41-1 Mania. Ethan Page against Danhausen.
Well, no, that was last week.
Gosh darn
Actually,
it.
you know what you're missing is the Golden Ticket Grand Slam Battle
That's
Royale.
what I'm missing.
The Grand Slam Golden Ticket
I
Battle
am.
Royale. Looking down your list, you have all these great matches written down. But we have this Golden Ticket Battle Royal we've announced. Some big participants in the match we confirmed. We know, of course, I think you saw on Rampage last week, Hangman Page and the entire Dark Order, at least all of them who were cleared to compete. So for sure, John Silver, Vance, number 10 looks like he'll be cleared.
That's right, yeah.
And it would be great to get them going. Evil Uno, and we'll see about Alex Reynolds' ankle. But he's been out with an injury since the pay-per-view. I got to say that, in addition to them, a lot of great stars going to be in this, including Penta El Zero Miedo, Jay Lethal. We saw Roosh threw his name in, and we'll have a lot more big names. I know the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, is going to get in there. All these wrestlers will be competing, and the winner of this will get a title shot at a set time and place. They'll have an appointment with a world champion.
Right.
That is how it differs. When you have somebody out there that's looming with a title shot whenever they want.
You will determine when this one's
This is going to be at a set time and place. And,
Uh-huh.
because when there's somebody looming out there with a title shot, you have to move on and have set plans, have a set calendar, and then, when that person chooses to take that opportunity, that's when it happens. But we're going to move on and keep things moving. We'll find out when that takes place. But there's going to be a Grand Slam Golden Ticket Rampage Battle Royal with a lot of big names.
One last note on Dynamite Rampage tonight. All title matches, right? But MJF is looming, right? So you have this you have this title match, Moxley against Danielson, which will be incredible. But what are the chances we see these two guys beat the stuffing out of each other and beat each other into a bloody pulp, and at the end, there's just this cackling idiot and Max just coming out and just talking shit or something?
I mean, I can't control what happens there. I think we'll have to see what happens at the end of the show, but it's going to be a great world title fight, and certainly it's a very interesting situation to follow, a looming challenger out there after the great Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley World Championship match on Dynamite.
All right, now let's have our fun together, okay?
Oh, good.
What's your favorite football movie?
Oh, man, my favorite football movie is Any Given Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Al Pacino?
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx?
Yeah.
It's a very good cast. I don't know.
I love it. I love Tony D'Amato.
Friday-
I read the original script.
I like Friday Night Lights.
I see. Maybe I'm biased as an NFL person. I read the original Any Given Sunday script when it had NFL teams in it and NFL players. Now, this was
That would have been sick.
This was like literally over a decade before my family and I were part of the NFL.
Yeah.
But on one hand, I could see why the NFL rejected this script.
Sure.
On the other hand, it came out. It's a great movie. I think they would have been different with the NFL in it, but the movie they made. I loved it. Like you said, it's a great cast. A lot of legendary football players in
Lawrence
it.
Taylor's in it.
Lawrence Taylor, Jim Brown.
Yeah.
They have great parts in the movie. But like you said, Al Pacino and Jamie Foxx, two of the biggest movie stars in my lifetime, on the screen as a coach and a quarterback. It's pretty great.
It's a lot, though. It's a lot. There's a lot going on in Any Given Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. I like Oliver Stone. I love Wall Street. It's a great movie.
Oh, I love Wall Street, too.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't like Wall Street. Money Never Sleeps.
No, me same.
God, that was awful.
God, that was
I
terrible.
watch Wall Street a lot.
Wall Street's one of my favorite movies, and it's a movie I
one of my
really
favorite
bonded
movies.
with my dad over. He loves Wall Street.
My dad didn't watch movies. No, he was in prison. But you know what? You didn't have to bring up my dad.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I'm sorry, man.
Charlie Sheen. Boy, he had a run, didn't he?
Yeah, he won an amazing run. We were actually talking about that.
It's in Major League. Like
Yeah,
we always talk about.
amazing run. And Major League 2, Wall Street, Platoon,
Yeah.
the run this guy was on.
Guy shows up in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's true.
Yeah. he's
In the police station.
Oh, no. You mean in the movie?
In the movie.
Okay, all right. Because he probably did afterwards, too. All right, so Jags are pretty good. Took a tough loss at Washington the first week, but looked pretty good, and then beat the crap out of the Colts. You got to be feeling pretty good about your life.
I feel really great about what's happening in Jacksonville right now. We got really exciting things happening. It's great to have, again, talk about a head coach, a quarterback, and a great staff. Doug Peterson's put this great staff together, offense, defense, and special teams. We're playing well in all three phases. We have a great young quarterback with Trevor Lawrence, and we built a really good core on offense around him and have a lot of really good veterans and young players playing to form on defense. It's a really exciting time for the Jags, and all three phases won that game on Sunday.
Can I come to a game?
Anytime.
Do you play the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, like we've, on a regular basis, yeah.
Yeah, but do you play them this year?
Well, do you want to come? I mean, yeah.
I would love to come, but I'm a Dolphins fan.
Oh, well, no, then I don't want to have you.
Oh, that's
Anytime
right.
we play the Dolphins, you're never coming.
Can I come to any other game and
Yeah.
act like I never said what
Yeah,
I
you know
said?
what you could say? It would be great. I know you don't like the New York Jets very much, I bet.
I don't.
You know what would be great? Are you going to spend the holidays up here or are you going to travel?
I'm probably going to be up here.
Well, great.
I can't afford to travel.
Well, I'm around up here. I'm coming up right before Christmas. We play Thursday Night Football against the Jets.
Can I come?
Yes, please.
As
We'd
your
love to have
guest?
you. Yes, you can come as my guest, and then I know you'll actually root for the Jaguars.
Yes, I was, because I never.
And when we do play the Dolphins, I just don't think it's really appropriate for you to come and root against my team.
I never told you this.
Anytime, not just not that we play them this, but anytime we play.
I'm about to tell you something I've never told you. When I lived in Atlanta, I lived there for 4 years, back in like 2016, 2017. I lived in a little small town called Cartersville, Georgia. Does that ring any bells?
Yeah.
It does. Okay. And when I got there, they were like, we got this sophomore quarterback. You're a sports writer. You should cover him. He's going to be the best. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft in 5 years. I said, no, he's not. I hear this all the time. And it was Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
It was the number one pick in the draft in 5 years.
How about that?
They were right. Isn't that
They
crazy?
were right, and he's been great for Jacksonville, for the city, and for the fans, and he's great for the team. And you were ahead on that one, so that's not your predictions are often.
I'm ahead on most things, Tony.
I've noticed that. That's why I like coming here.
And remember, I texted you a couple years ago. I said you should start a wrestling company, and then I said you should sign Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. You don't check these texts, but anyway, I said all that stuff.
Well, you know what I do think is you should definitely come any Jags game. You're welcome. All games on the calendar except the Dolphins. Please don't come.
All right, I got it, man. Now you're making me feel bad that I said it.
Well, I'm actually trying to protect you from my dad. Because if you showed up in Dolphins gear, he would say, after everything we've done for you, he's not going to take that.
All right, I'm not really a Dolphins fan. I made that up.
Oh, really? Well, then we'd love to.
I am. Of course I am. I'm just trying to get out of it.
Oh, okay. Like I said, I'm just trying to protect you.
I did start a Madden franchise with the Jags a couple of weeks ago.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
How's that going?
Not great.
I'm sorry.
Not great. I decided to play on all Madden, and I'm not ready for it.
Well, that's a choice.
You play Madden?
It's been a while. Honestly, I love the game, and it's hard to find time to play now. But it is my favorite video game ever. I do love Madden, and certainly the game has not only had great gameplay, great players, the NFL, all of our logos and trademarks, but it's nice to have great music in the game. And some of my favorite songs were in the game when I was in college.
Madden 2004, 2005 soundtrack is my life.
Yes.
What's your favorite wrestling video game ever made?
AEW Fight Forever, which is going to be coming out.
I'd like to play that.
I'm excited about it.
When is that coming out?
It'll be coming out sooner rather than later. I'm excited for it.
I cannot wait. Anyway, I also can't wait for AEW Dynamite Grand Slam tonight. AEW Rampage, check that out, 10 o'clock on TNT on Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Tonight you can watch on TBS if you're not there. It's going to be great. I didn't go last year. I am going this year. I cannot wait to see this incredible. It's crazy. I mean, it's just a massive, incredible card with Moxley and Danielson and all these guys. And it's always a pleasure for you to come in.
Well, it's great to be here with you, and thanks for having me. I always appreciate when you have me here to promote AEW, but I also just like to see you. So you're always welcome at the shows, and you're always welcome at the Jags games as long as we're not playing the Dolphins, so you can come support the Jags and not be a traitor after everything I've done for you.
I make $80,000 a year.
Yeah, but to be fair, I've really helped get this show back on the air, and I've done a lot for you. So
that's wrestling.